Hey, what's up guys? Pat here with a deck profile for a mono blue Soul Striker build. I originally was going to just show you guys what I played at ARG Virginia, ARG Richmond, but since it didn't do as well as I had hoped, I kind of decided to revise the deck, especially now since the new deck boxes are out with the promos and such. Basically, the meta is kind of shifted a little bit, so this is basically my take on Soul Striker. The reason I went mono blue over the blue green build I see a lot of people play is because I find that I have to cram my deck full of bad cards if I want to actually break the cycle of going green card, attack with Soul Striker, then play a blue card. And that I felt like forced me into some really, awkward plays sometimes when I played Soul Striker. So I decided to just go mono blue entirely and, it kind of worked out. I did receive some feedback though on the deck from Anthony as well as my friend Eric Malone. Eric said that he just felt like the deck just didn't have a closer in the original version, which is one of the things I addressed with it. Also, the deck was a little bit slow for where I wanted it. I like to have a deck that's slightly faster, so that way I have a pretty big advantage in the mirror. Since Soul Striker is running pretty rampant, that's a thing. And then we'll also talk about some card choices and side deck choices as well for the bad matchups, which I consider to be Mecha Frieza with a Buhan shell, as well as a hand destruction shell, whether it's Vegeta or Mecha. Those are also kind of bad matchups. So yeah, let's just get into the deck profile. We're just going to do it in packages. I don't think I have to explain Soul Striker. You guys already know what he does. He's at this point he's got to be the most popular leader in the game. So Staples package. 4 boost attack Piccolos. Don't have to explain why that's a good card. Goku package. I play Kind Saiyan Goku in this deck largely because in testing, Rapid Onslaught was a monster. I didn't end up playing him in Virginia, and honestly, to this day I still can't understand why I didn't. So yeah, 4 Rapid Onslaughts. Just look top 7 for a Goku. And then the only Goku we're playing in the deck is Rapid Onslaught. This card is a monster, especially in the mirror. It's very good against Cell. Cell's kind of a bad matchup if you're not playing this card. Yeah, just critting somebody for 2 on turn 3 and still having mana live, energy untapped, energy open is just way too powerful. And I honestly I just don't know why more people aren't playing this in Soul Striker. Even at 5 cost, it's not even terrible. One of the big things I learned from playtesting a lot for this event is that awakening is super critical, and you can never have too many awakening cards. The more ways you have to awaken, the more consistent the deck becomes. I noticed that a lot of other Soul Striker builds were struggling to not awaken some games. Every single game except for one against hand control in Virginia with a build similar to this, I was awakened on turn 4 or 5 every single game. Yeah, 4 copies of this guy. I originally hated this card. This card has quickly become one of my favorite cards in mono blue. It's kind of honestly it's a little bit ridiculous. Next up we have our Trunks package. I play 3 Bulma, Supporter of the Future. I don't like maxing out Bulma. The 4th one just a terrible top deck. I just play a 1-to-1 ratio, whatever I have for search targets. It just searches a future Trunks. Since I don't play green, obviously I can't search the triple strike green. So 3 Light of Hope Trunks. This card is a monster, absolute monster. 3-drop 20k is beefy enough that it can threaten Kales, it can threaten Gohans, it can threaten Beerus's, and it can reliably push through for damage, and it makes your leader 25k. It's a great card. You're gonna basically get 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, possibly even 3 per turn with Light of Hope Trunks on board. Just this card shot up in price after Virginia after PPG won with it, and it's deservedly so. This card is just ridiculously good. If you're playing Soul Striker, I just don't see why you wouldn't play it, especially since it tutors and it's so natural with the curve of the deck. So 3 of him. Next up, this is one of the more controversial choices, and it's one of the things I wish I could have played in Virginia, and it is Comrades Combined Vegeta. This is a 2-drop 20k. My original build before I swapped over to the Indestructible Packages, I'll show you guys a little bit later, is I played 4 of the 3-drop 20k Vegeta just because he's big. Yeah, he's easy to remove. Yeah, he dies to Cell. Yeah, he dies to Goten. But when you actually sit down and play with a 20k vanilla, you recognize how relevant it is. It's 2 cards for your opponent to block it every time they attack. And again, it's big enough that it threatens every relevant creature in the game, every relevant battle card your opponent is playing. Vegeta, or you know, the 3-drop, or this one because we're playing mono blue, he's a 2-drop. Um, it's just big enough that it's gonna, you know, it has to be dealt with. A 2-drop that it has to be dealt with, like that's great in this deck, especially since if you're gonna curve out with you know, Kind Saiyan Goku, this guy on 2, and then Rapid Onslaught, like you have a pretty powerful curve that's kind of difficult to answer. You can actually, with Soul Striker, because you're Soul Striker, actually curve out Kind Saiyan, then turn to Objection and still drop this 20k Vegeta, and then, you know, they have to deal with the Vegeta, and then you have the Rapid Onslaught on deck for turn 3. It's just really powerful, and it kind of is just, you know, really, really aggressive. So we play 4 copies of Vegeta. I think he's actually a very good card, but only obviously in mono blue, which is he's one of the main reasons we are mono blue. Prince of Speed Vegeta, broken card, draws 2. You can evolve your 2-drop Vegeta into this guy for 4 if you were desperate for the draw 2, which depending on the hand control matchup, like that might actually be a play you actually have to do. Um, this card is basically a necessity in the deck. Like you know, I go back and forth with this card. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him, but for the most part, like he's a card you just kind of have to play, because hand control will just ruin your life if you don't actually have you know, some sizable amount of copies of these in your deck. I kind of wish that I had, you know, 4 copies in the deck, but I can only really squeeze in 3 right now. So, you know, I'm sure I'll make some tweaks later on and try and find a way for 4, because, you know, he's just that invaluable in the hand destruction matchup that you have to see him in order to stabilize the game and, you know, see some kind of way to win it. So yeah, 3 copies there. Here we go. Next up is Bursting Energy Super Saiyan Vegeto, Super Vegeto. This card is actually a lot better than I think people give it credit, especially in this deck. We don't play too many copies of it, but if you want to live the dream, it is very possible. It's just another card that helps us awaken, and if we hit our optimal curve, we can, you know, turn 2 hit you with Vegeta, turn 2 hit you at Rapid Onslaught and Vegeta, turn 4 hit you with Vegeta and Rapid Onslaught, then untap both to, you know, to Potara Fusion this guy. So then we have another 25k double strike. So we're hitting you basically for 5, you know, damage on turn 4, and then also possibly awakening, because, you know, you activate his effect. It's very possible, depending on how much damage you've taken in the course of the game, to swing with your 2 guys, Potara Union into this guy, activate this guy, awaken, attack, untap 2. So this card is basically free. It's 4, you know, you get to untap 4 in a turn. And even just dropping this guy on 6 isn't even that bad. It is very possible to just, he's a 2-drop 25k double striker. So, or 2 energy, I should say. Very, very good card. Just, I don't want to see it all the time. I played 2 copies. Next up, we have Trunks the Constant Hope. People constantly were saying I didn't have a finisher in the deck. Well, here is the finisher of the deck. We play a lot of Gokus. We play a lot of Vegetas. We have Light of Hope Trunks. It's very possible on our turn 4 or turn 5, if we have Light of Hope Trunks and our opponent is low on life because they've been taking a beating from our 2 and 3 drop Gokus, or turn 2, turn 3 Goku plays, it's very possible to just drop this guy and just have the triple striker on the board and just attack and, you know, pick up the Piccolo from the discard pile and then combo the rest of your hand and just instantly kill somebody. I did it to somebody this past weekend on the local that I won. You know, this card's always been slept on. I felt like you can't really argue with a, you know, 25, or I should say a potential 5-drop 35k draw card triple striker. That's just really, really powerful. You know, and again, if they, at least as far as I know, the current ruling on this card is if this card's attack gets negated, you still get the combo, which means you still get the combo with Unyielding Trunks, you still get the combo with Boost Attack Piccolo, and get their effects, which is monstrous. I think this card is very slept on. Really surprised more people don't play it. It steals games, as a, you know, I've noticed this past weekend. I play 3 copies. You know, I want to see it. It is my finisher. Next up, Removal Package. There's not going to be too much to say here. 4 Beerus, best blue battle card. You already know we're playing blue. We're playing 4 this guy. This guy is broken. Golden Frieza. This card is just absolutely amazing. But the thing is, I see too many people misplaying with this card. Most people just play this card and pick up a 1-drop or whatever have you. Pick up your combo 3-drop future Gohans and stuff. That's cool and all, but the way I was destroying everybody in playtesting and in the mirror is to simply just hardcast Golden Frieza and pick Golden Frieza with his own effects. So you just drop this guy, put him, pick their best guy on bottom deck it, then put the Gold Frieza back in your hand. People were asking me, how do I get by not playing 4 Gohans, 4 Beerus, 4 Kales? It's because I play these Golden Friezas. I literally just sit on the Golden Frieza the entire game. And anytime you play a threat, I Golden Frieza, bottom deck it, put the Golden Frieza back in my hand, and I just sit on them. Once I get a second Golden Frieza, then I can start looping by playing Golden Frieza, attacking, bouncing something lesser, attacking with Golden Frieza, then playing the new Gold Frieza, pick the old Gold Frieza back up and attacking. So yeah, this is another card like Prince of Speed. My original build had 4. I felt I saw it way too often at 4, so currently we're sitting it at 3. 4 is definitely something though I can see myself going back to. This card is this is so slept on for so long. I couldn't believe this is like a $2 super for the longest time. This card, as time goes on, I think more and more people are going to realize this is going to be like a $15 or $20 super if it's not already. Card is just great. If you guys watched Peter Katani's winning video with it, he literally just said like he couldn't. The only reason he didn't play this card is because he couldn't fit this card into his winning list, and that is because he's playing blue-green. If you're playing mono-blue, very easy to cast this card. The thing is, when you're playing blue-green, you're going to be paying 2 green plus the 3 blue, and you're just not going to have the ability to make the kind of plays you want to make in mono in the 2-color deck. Again, like I said at the start of the video, you're going to play your Kale, you're going to have to attack with Soul Striker, and then make do with a blue play after that. And sometimes you can't do that. But if you're playing mono blue, it's very easy to just, Golden Frieza, attack with Goku, Golden Frieza again. It's very, very easy. So yeah. 3 to him, like I said. Result of training. Card's just broken. I played 4 at Virginia. Even now with all the extra Awakening cards, I have 6 extra Awakening cards on top of that. I still play 3 of it. Again, from what I noticed in testing, especially against hand control decks or like certain things like Tricolor Cell, if you don't awaken the game by the first 4 or 5 turns, the game is lost. It's that important. I'm willing to dedicate 9 cards in my deck to make sure that I flip on turn 4 or 5 every single game. That important. Card is just amazing, absolutely amazing. And this style of deck with the rapid onslaughts, which I wasn't playing before, it gives me more ways to awaken, and it cuts down on the amount of these that I was playing in the deck. 4 is quite excessive, but it was necessary when I didn't have anything else. Now that I have 6 additional ways to awaken, 3 is just fine. On for the rest of the extra cards. For objections, I don't like the card. I've always say it. Anthony Hernandez says it in all of his videos. The thing about objection is that it enables way too many broken plays, especially in this deck, because you can ramp and then play a 20k, which is just dumb. No matter how you look at it, it's just dumb. And then you can just untap and then potentially, go off, depending on what else you have in your hand. It's too powerful. If you open 2 copies of this, especially against Cell or a hand destruction leader, you may very well just win the game by just how much you've ramped off of it. It's just it's one of the few ways I think we can beat hand destruction, because our hand's going to be depleted anyway. Might as well just throw it away, get a huge energy lead, and just start being aggressive with top deck bodies. So yeah, 4 copies. It's the only extra card I play 4 copies of because it's that important to our strategy. Whis' Coercion. I've gone up and down over that past couple of months with playing this card. I was playing it as a 4 of, and then I was playing an extra set of negates. So I was playing 8 negates. Then I went back to 4. Then I went to 0 for a while. Then I went back up to 4 after the performance that I had in Connecticut, and I really can never decide. But I think 3 right now is the right number. I see it enough where it matters. I would probably side the 4th one for the Vegeta matchup. For every other matchup, 4 is excessive. I mean, I feel like the format is so fast, even in Soul Striker mirrors, that I don't need all 4. I just would like to see 4 when I play against Vegeta, because negating every single attack is that important in that deck. So yeah, 3 copies. So yeah, kind of a controversial pick, but yeah. And then next up we have 3 Beans. Bean is a card that I have, again, had a love-hate relationship with. It is one of the best cards in the entire game because it can save you, and in situations that no other card can save you from. If you're getting swarmed by Metacooler, or you're getting hit with 2 ghost tanks off of Bobby, this is the only card in the game that saves you, which is why you need it. And it also enables more plays, which is why people think it's really, really good. But there are times where I just sit with Bean in my hand and it does nothing. Unless I'm willing to overextend, it just does nothing. So, I don't know. Again, people probably going to say, like, oh, you're bad because you only play 3. But, I mean, I've seen some people having PPG was playing 3 and they did just fine. Like, you just side the 4th one, bringing it in certain matchups. Like, it's just dead in certain matchups. Unless you really are trying to overextend and go heavy, and that's just not my playstyle. I feel like if you overextend more often than not, you're gonna die. Unless you just play it like on the razor's edge, like so many of the Vegeta builds do. So yeah, for this deck, 3 is just plenty fine. So yeah, that's the main deck basically, and now I'm gonna go over some other cards and choices for why I do or do not play certain things. Because I know immediately when I show you the next couple of cards, you guys are gonna be like, why didn't you play that? So, moving on for cards that I did not play, but probably should play, or, what have you. Time Patrol Trunks. So, I know everybody's going to ask me, where's your Time Patrol Trunks? It's a staple. And then also, same thing with Bardock, especially since I'm mono blue. There's no real way for me to, I don't have as much, removal as the blue-green variants of Soul Striker. And obviously he's cheap. Well, so for one, the gold Frieza loot makes the Bardock not as necessary, but it's still really good. And honestly, I still may end up playing this card. I haven't found 100% where I want to be with the deck, but it's performing so well right now that I don't know if I need this, but only more testing will tell. So this one, I'm not sure. Same thing with Time Patrol Trunks. Like, again, just I haven't had enough time to play test them, but for right now, they're counterintuitive to the deck that I'm playing right now. I'm already fast enough, and I see enough cards where I don't need, I don't really need the Trunks. I mean, more can never hurt. Obviously, more filter is always a good thing, but the biggest drawback is the Overwhelm. If you guys remember, I'm playing. Where is he? This guy. I'm playing Trunks, the Constant Hope. I need a discard pile for my finisher. My finisher literally is a huge body that cycles cards every single turn. So, I mean, it's obviously slower than Trunks, but it can fulfill the same thing, and it's also my finisher. If I remove my discard pile, I lose my, my engine, so to speak, as well as, just my huge finisher. I'd have to call it with something different, and since I'm mono blue, the only real thing I can replace this with is Godbreak Goku. Beerus, I feel like he's just junk. I don't really like him, the 7-drop Beerus. And so it's just like, well, what else can you possibly finish the game with? There's Zeno, but like Zeno is only really good in certain matchups. So yeah, that's why I'm not playing these 2 cards right now. In the future, they may go in the deck. I'm not 100% sure. Of all the cards that I'm not playing, these are the 2 that I am strongly considering putting in at some point in time. Boo. There's simply just not enough space. Bulma tutors me, an amazing mid to late game card, and then Rapid Onslaught Goku is just, been backbreaking. I'm not going to play 11 to 12 1-drops. The deck's already fine and consistent enough as it is. I just feel like we just don't need him. We're literally just filling our deck with cards that just, are somewhat hurtful. Again, I know people will disagree with me, but just having the package in there, the packages I have, it's consistent enough. You feel free to add this in there if you really want. I could very easily see people trying to play this over the Bulma, just because it can get you any card. But yeah, again, in the initial draft since the draft boxes came out, it's been fine without it. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it for right now. Critical Trunks. I just don't think he is as impactful as Light of Hope. Light of Hope gets me on average 2 to 3 cards every turn out of my opponent's hand, which is way better than a 15k crit that gets 1 out of my opponent's hand usually. Yeah, the top 7 search is actually not that good because we're only playing 2 Vegetos, because I don't really think there's a reason to play more than that. You would just be flooding your deck with a card that's situational. When I was playing 4 Vegetos and I had this guy in the build, sure, I hit the Vegeto all the time, but like I just was ended up charging. The one thing I will say that's nice about him is that he's basically better than the other critical Vegeta and the critical Goku, because you can just Evo into the finisher, which is really nice. I like that a lot. And obviously he can potentially draw you a card based on the build, but the way I just have been playing and the things I've had success with in this metagame have been just play 20Ks. 20Ks are just they're too beefy. They're too hard to like they demand answers basically. You want to be playing cards that demand answers. A 15K when everybody's playing a bunch of one cost combos in the play for 15, you know, the 20K is huge. The 15K is easily stoppable. Anything can remove it from the board, which we'll use that as a segue to Gohan. Um, I don't know. Like I said, big guys I feel like just win games in this format. Um, Gohan is a card I have currently sided for faster matchups. I don't feel like I need him in Soul Striker. People play him to block attacks of me in Soul Striker, and then they're just like, alright, cool, I'll untap with my army of 15s, but my board's all 20s and 25Ks, so like it doesn't really do anything. I just drop like a Sensu Beam, and then their cards are all just worthless. So, I don't know. Haven't really had a reason, since I'm playing a lot of 5K boosts, haven't really felt like I needed him as much to stave off some attacks. I side him in for obviously much faster matchups like Vegeta because, at that point the combo pad hour actually does matter. So yeah. Jocko, I've always just, I don't know. Since the beginning of the game I didn't like Jocko, then I love Jocko. It's the same thing as Whis' Corsion. I have a love it, hate it relationship with Jocko. Sometimes he's really good, sometimes he's really bad. I found in the testing for Virginia that I didn't need him. I didn't want him at all because he's a dead card like every single time unless you're playing against Vegeta and it's a shotgun matchup. In which case, I think that there's a better option, which I'll show you later, than playing Jocko. I know like if Nick Brady sees this video, he's probably like, what? Like everything in this video, what is Pat smoking right now? Like why would he like say no to Jocko? Jocko is insane. He's one of the best cards you could play against Vegeta. I agree with you. But I have a different preference for how to handle Vegeta, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And the last one is Unyielding Trunks. If I could decide to go triple color Soul Striker in the future, I'll consider playing it. I might put 2 of this in here if I can find some room for it, because it's obviously very good with Trunks, the Constant Hope, because even if they negate, you get to untap, make more plays. I find in mono blue, because of how consistent our ability, since all of our energy is streamed and how consistent we are across the board, we're not as desperate to use this card as a blue-green deck. Blue-green has to use this to make multiple plays in a turn. We don't need to do that, so we can free up our slots in our deck for much bigger and more crazy threats. So yeah, those are all like the situational cards I didn't end up playing. Next up, we'll talk about the Indestructible Package. This is what was originally in the deck. Bulma, this Bulma instead of the other one because it searches a Whis. The Ramp Whis, we're not playing the Ramp Whis. You can basically throw this with the situational cards. I'm just here to show you that I feel like the deck's fast enough where we don't need this card. So yeah, this is definitely not the Whis we're playing. We're playing Sacred Guard. I basically played a bunch of Bulmas. I played like 4 Bulmas and 4 guards, just so that way we just have this big beefy body that they can't really punch through consistently. And since removal is the name of the game with Soul Striker, having a 20k blocker that they cannot remove, pretty good. And then when they're at 1 life, it can pressure pretty well. So yeah, really good card. I don't think I have to explain why Sacred Guard is meta. But the other card, and the reason why I called it Mono Blue Indestructible, is I played 4 copies of this guy. Which is, yeah. So Zamasu. I know I said I don't like 15Ks, but this is a 15K that combos for 0, so that's also relevant, so you can pawn them off at later points in the game if they're not really useless. But if you just sit on a board of Sacred Guards and Zamasus and just Golden Frieza loop people, they can't establish a board. I watched people play Kale against me in Virginia and literally pick the only other guy in play and not be able to target anything because my board is all Whis and Zamasus. And I just grind you out by sticking 2 or 3 of these guys on board and just play defensively and just grind you out with these and play removal as necessary. So that's definitely a way you can still go with the deck. You don't play the 2-drop Vegeta, you don't play the Trunks package, you just play this and you play like say Godbreak Goku as a finisher. This card is really, really, really underrated. I was debating about it for a while, but shoutouts to Ian Hill because he was the one that finally convinced me to just play this card. It's just really, really good. He's one of the main reasons I switched to it at like last minute. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this. If you're playing against Cell, like I still actually sideboard this in my. If you're playing against Cell, or the Mirror, you just side this in, and you just know you're just gonna value them to death because there's just no way they can deal with it. So yeah, Very underrated card. I expect to see this card see more play in Soul Striker, especially as a sideboard card. Just really, really, really strong in that matchup. Now we're going to talk about blue cards for the sideboard. There's only really two that weren't discussed there, like Zamasu or Whis. There's only basically two cards that I would consider also on the sideboard. Zeno. Zeno can take place of Trunks if you want. In Soul Striker matchups, like in the mirror, it's really good. It's really good against hand destruction because if you can ramp up and they wipe your hand, you can play Zeno and refill your hand. You can also get rid of all the Bio Brolys and everything in play. And then Soul Striker mirrors just get dumb lopsided sometimes where one Soul Striker player has like 4 or 5 bodies in play to your like 0. Zeno basically levels the playing field. And then just in general, if your opponent just doesn't know that you're playing this card or doesn't know it's in your sideboard, if you just put them at like a huge, hand size, like they're like 12 or 14 cards, and you put them at 1 life, they take it, they're at a huge hand, knowing that they can combo whatever you throw at them, you drop Zeno, you just instantly kill them. There's nothing they can really do about it. They can't recover from it, especially since your leader's 20k. Really, really strong card. The more I play with Zeno, the more I'm impressed with him. He's definitely like a staple, either main board or sideboard, I feel like, for mono blue decks. He's just incredible. He just does way too much. If you're going to side in the Zamasus, though, I probably would not be playing this card. I just think it's counterintuitive to the strategy. So, yeah. Father Son Gallic Gun. I originally had this card in my sideboard in Virginia, and Anthony Hernandez, like I said, convinced me to remove it. I know people think this card is kind of junk, and it is because you just give them put and play effects. You give them back their Beerus, you give them back your Kales, their Gohans. But the thing is, when your deck is primarily comprised of Whis and Zamasus, you don't care about giving them back the put and play effect. It's basically free because you're Soul Striker removal. And then on top of that, it's one of the few ways we can remove huge threats like Buhan in the Mecha Frieza matchup. I currently side 3 of this guy. And it's only for those specific matchups, but since you're blue and you don't have great answers to certain matchups, like this is one of those cards where it's kind of invaluable. It just seems kind of weird and techy, but trust me, it's a lot better than you guys think it is. Boomerang sometimes is as bad as it reads. Sometimes it is enough and it is what you're looking for. It's just a way to remove bodies off the board, can't be stopped, and it's free because you're your leader. That's enough justification to win the game or play if it wins you the game or swings the game heavily in your favor. So now we're going to talk about other sideboard packages for the matchups and whatnot. So this is the sideboard I actually played at Virginia. I played a green package, so I sided into blue-green Soul Striker by playing the Go-10s for just removal for certain stall decks, Full Power Energy, which is specifically a card we play for Vegeta, having more negates against Vegeta, like the aggro Vegeta decks in set 1 struggled because people played a ton of negates. They played 6 to 8 negates in every single deck, and that meant that aggressive Vegeta players couldn't really get any action, which is why you saw blue-yellow Vegeta really prominent at the end of set 1, or I should say the middle of set 1, because just having 8 negates in a deck made it so that he just couldn't get an insane amount of value off of his attacks. Also, the decks like how Marcel plays, they try and shotgun you even with like Majin Buus or Champas 1-drops. You're basically, or Kabas. This is just a way to not only stop the Vegeta attack but kill the Kaba at the same time. Really excellent card. I don't know why people aren't playing it right now in the meta, especially since Vegeta just won the 1K. Shoutouts to Sawyer for that. But yeah, Vegeta is being played more and more and more. I don't know why this card isn't being mained as at least a 2 or sided. I think it's just a great card. Ready to Strike Piccolo. Obviously very good against the Vegeta matchup. You can stall an attack, and then if they try and amass a huge hand, if they don't have the Go-10, you just cut it all down, which is just amazing. So I played a bunch of these. Then I played this guy here, fully trained Super Saiyan Son Gohan, just because he gets the Piccolo, and he's just a body. So, yeah. This was the package I went with. It's really strong against Soul Striker Mirror. Very, very strong against Vegeta. I expected to play against Soul Striker and Vegeta all day, so my sideboard was tuned for them. Whereas I was warned that I should be more wary of Mecha Frieza, which is, I'll show you the other sideboard for the deck, which was the one that Anthony and I came up with, which I probably should have played, and that is we side into a red deck. So Kaba is here because it's another way to awaken, and in matches against like Tricolor Cell and Hand Destruction, we have to awaken as fast as possible. The more ways to awaken we have, the better. So if you were to side in Kaba in here over, say, the Bulmas in the deck, you're looking at, what is that, like 13 cards that awaken you in the deck. So that's about a fourth of your deck. You're definitely going to be awakening much more consistently, and you can recoup value by basically drawing cards off of your leader every time you attack. You can kind of get yourself out of the tough spots. It also makes your deck really fast against the slower decks, or the decks that try and go really big, so that's always very helpful. Furthering Destruction Champa, you play it against Vegeta and other decks because it can just steal the game. Everybody already knows siding into Champa when they don't see it game one. You can steal a game with it, and we just needed more red count for other things. Vegeto's Assistance, it's very similar to the same thing that we were playing while we were playing Full Power Energy. Negates really, I think, backbreak Vegeta when you're playing like 7 negates in a board and you just only negate the critical Vegeta attacks. It's like not as bad. So I fully expect that people should be playing more negates, especially in the board as Vegeta, comes to prominence once more. It's also just really good because it lets us reuse our Kaba. So you attack with Kaba, take a life, Vados, stand Kaba, attack with Kaba, do it again, and that's again, it makes us more consistent against those hand control matchups by just adding cards to our hand and letting us awaken much faster in the mirror. So, and then the last card is Jiren. We just needed another body that was just big in the sideboard. He answers a lot of our problems. He gets through Whi's Sacred Guard, which some Soul Striker builds do, and then he's also just removal. He's just good in the Soul Striker matchup in general because you can just attack, kill their Kale, attack, kill their Gohan, and you just got a lot of value out of your 4-drop. So yeah, he's just a really good card. He just adds more ammo to our deck. So yeah, this is, I think, going forward, I think that this is the right sideboard to be playing, along with either Zamasu or Zeno based on your preferences. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. That's like a huge, comprehensive overview of everything Soul Striker. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just leave me a comment below. I would gladly explain any more card choices or why I'm playing things I am or not playing things that you may not see here. So yeah. Also, if you do like this video, please give it a share. Definitely need to start reaching out to more people, and then also ramping up the amount of videos that I've been putting out. I know I've been having some difficulty with some stuff that's going on in my life right now, so I apologize about that. But yeah, we should get some more content coming out throughout this next week, and then obviously with the release of Set 3, the previews are going to be starting in the next week or two. So you'll be seeing me talk about some cards there, as well as we're going to start rolling out that podcast with Nick Botchus, Matt Coombs, and Anthony, so that way you guys will have our insight on what we think of the cards coming in the future. Alright guys, that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the